Welcome. Good morning. I hope everyone's good to be, happy to be here. Let me start off by just kind of giving you a little bit of background about myself. I have been in the classroom. I was a middle school teacher by trade. I spent 13 years teaching math and science, and through those 13 years of teaching, I always found opportunity to do additional kind of activities. And you guys know that if you have an idea or a passion, then your administrators, other people will kind of reach out to you, like the migrant groups and stuff. They'll reach out to you and they'll ask you, would you mind doing an after-school class, or would you mind doing a summer program? And that's kind of where it started. But just like all the rest of you guys, my schedule was packed. I always was doing tutoring after school or the morning time things. So I had a very packed schedule. So a lot of the ideas that I had thought about, that would be great, the kids would love to learn how to do that stuff, I just never found the time to do it. So I recognize that you don't have that type of time to just stay up all night looking on the internet gathering resources, right? I get that. So what I've done, and this is kind of what my role has been in the last couple of years since I've been with Cal State, is really kind of just going out and finding great, engaging activities that are STEM-based. So that's kind of my field, my passion, is finding ideas of ways of bringing STEM into the elementaries and the middle schools, and just kind of giving the students an idea of where it starts. But really, the real power is letting them kind of just getting that autonomy and that that passion to kind of want to do it themselves, and kind of giving them a direction and saying, here's cool, this is this cool idea, and this is how easy it is to get started. There's the entry. And then once they have that entry, then it's like, okay, turn them loose, let them do it. And then they're showing you stuff, right? They're bringing these really cool ideas to you, and you're like, this is great. We got to put something on YouTube and let the world see this little invention or whatever it was that you did. So what I'm hoping to do in the next couple of days is kind of just give you an entry level. I know that everyone in here has a range of experience with technology. I get that also. So what I will do is try to start from the beginning and just kind of lay it out and give you guys just a smooth entry into it all. But you'll notice that most of the stuff that we do today and tomorrow is going to be like, this is just a beginning. Here's something, here's an idea, and this is the direction you go. I've gathered resources for you. Here's where you go. It's really up to you where you take it. And I don't encourage, I don't expect, is probably a better word, I don't expect anyone in here to spend the next 3 or 4 weeks, honing in on their coding skills or learning all about electronics and circuitry. But if you have a general understanding, then you can at least point kids in the right direction, and they'll do it. They have more time and energy than any of us put together. So let me go ahead and start off by just kind of doing some logistical efforts here. We partner. I should probably also tell you that I am part of a residency program, so I work with the Kern Rural Teacher Residency, and what that means is that we have selected a couple of districts in Kern County, North Kern being Buttonwillow and Semi-Tropic school districts, and then in South Kern, which is the Lamont School District. So we have our 3 partner schools, and what we do within those 3 partner schools is we just kind of, we do our credentialing program, we train our teachers, but we have a STEM focus for all of our teachers. So any pre-service teacher that comes through our program, they are going to be running through a summer camp, which is Camp Blast. And it's kind of like their introduction to the school. So we give them 3 weeks of time in classroom working with kids, and we kind of give them all the survival skills that they need just to kind of make it through the first days. But what we find out is that they really do, they're so motivated to get into a classroom to start working with kids. They hear about this stuff in book and theory, but then it's that practice, that real, what does it really look like? And when you have kids that maybe don't want to be there that day, or whatever the situation might be. So we try to give them just those first experiences. Then we send them in, we put them in our partner school districts. So Lamont, they have a great technology department that has partnered with us, and whenever I ask a question, they have just been on the ball. They've been helping us out. So it's been really nice for us to be able to go and ask them for things like this. I said, can you make 25, 30 accounts, Google accounts, so that way we can use your Google Classroom setup. So let me just see by a show of hands. I know that Lamont's here with me, but from my other schools, Google Classroom in your own classroom. Is there, who speaks Google Classroom? So do you use it? You kind of know the idea? Okay, so I can see there's not very many. But do you guys all agree that we are going in that direction? At some point, you guys will all be required to use it. And just like fractions, we can't avoid it. We have to embrace it and learn how to use them. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do today. You do not need to be an expert with Google Classroom, but I will kind of give you the student side of it. So the stuff that I'm going to be having you do today in a few minutes is you're going to log into Google Classroom. It's a nice little platform because you can use it to send out files to students. And then, and I'll kind of give you some experiences on what you can use it for as well. So as a teacher, so what we'll do is this. I'm counting the number of people in here just kind of quickly, and it looks like there's more than 30. I have about 25 accounts that I have available, 25, 26 accounts that are available. And what you can do is we'll just kind of say if there's an additional person that doesn't have an account, you'll just pair up with someone that you're comfortable with. and you can use their account and just kind of look at the same screen together and then take those files and then you can use it on your computer. So we'll make it work. So the way that we'll have to have this happen is you are going to go to Google or classroom.google.com. So I'm pointing on the screen, it's on there as well. If you go to classroom.google.com, you need to be in Chrome. You don't really need to be in Chrome, but Chrome speaks the best with, it's a Google platform. So if you have a laptop in front of you, go into the internet. Tony, are we good with Wi-Fi? I mean, everyone was here yesterday. They had no troubles getting in?
Yeah, we should be signed in.
Okay. Okay, so let me know if there's situations with anyone, if there's too many, We have a hotspot also that we can make available. So let me go ahead and look at, and for all of my teachers that are not Google Classroom savvy, this is all of your students. So this is the teacher interface, not the student interface, but this is the teacher interface. On the teacher interface, I can see that these are all of my students that have logged in. I can send them a personalized email, any kind of feedback I want. I can communicate with them one-to-one. No one else can see it. So there's that. Now, let's go ahead and get started with our actual content. Today in class, our objective is going to be to kind of discover the makey-makey. But before we can actually discover the makey-makey, we have to learn or establish some basic guidelines for circuitry. What I want to do is start off by asking you guys to look at the circuitry exploration file. Go to the bottom of the stream, circuitry exploration file, and you're going to click on circuitry. Before we actually have any kind of direction, and with my students, we kind of have to establish protocols. And one of the biggest things that we have to do as a group, and this is teacher to student kind of thing, we have to make sure that we have our students' attention, right? I mean, there's no point in me talking if my students aren't listening. So there's a great strategy that I know it was from somebody in Lamont that does this in their own classroom because one of my residents started using it, and I walked in and I was like, this is a moment of brilliance. So what they did was, when a teacher was talking, they had their little verbal cue, kind of like class. What they said was, see you later, alligator. And the students would say, in a while, crocodile. Now, the reason why they did that was because when their laptop Chromebooks were opened, and I wanted the teacher wants the attention, they would say, see you later, alligator, and all the students would verbally say, in a while, crocodile, as they were closing their Chromebook to a 45-degree slant. Now, you don't want your students to close it all the way because it powers down your Chromebook. So what you want to do is, let's practice this. If I say, see you later, alligator, my students will, in a while, crocodile, will you please put that at 45 degrees? I want to visually see everyone's Chromebook at 45 degrees. That means it's closed all the way up to 45. And that means I now have your attention, because if I said, see you later, alligator, and you say to me, in a while, crocodile, I've now committed you guys to closing that enough to where I have your attention. Now, I only tell you that, well, two reasons. One, I wanted your attention. But mostly it's because I wanted you guys to kind of have these tools to learn how to do this with your own class, with your own groups. It is very difficult to kind of have that conversation with your student. This is curious stuff for them, and they're going to want to see more about it. And even though you're talking and you're trying to show them more information, they're in there and they want it, they're committed. So we kind of have to learn those little protocols to kind of help them. So you'll hear me saying that every now and then. See you later, alligator, in a while, crocodile. So go ahead and let's open them back up now. If everybody is where they should be, you're now at the circuitry slides. Now, I should keep in mind that there are plenty of us in here that have never done Google Classroom, but it's important for you to learn it. So we'll dry run that today as part of our training. When you click on the actual circuitry link from the teacher, it shows me what are my students doing. But that's not what you guys want to do. I want to actually go in and click on the face of it, so that way on the actual file. So if you're looking at the screen, you'll see me hovering. This is the actual PowerPoint slide. So I want to click on the circuitry PowerPoint slide, and it'll open this up. Now, what I've done was I've kind of put in a couple of files. This is a file that we used when we teach our summer camp. So my residents will go through these modules, and they'll teach their students, their third graders, their fourth graders, their fifth graders, sixth graders, seventh graders, all of those groups of students. They'll teach them all these different concepts. So I've loaded one of those little modules with you guys, and you'll see some of my students are over here and they're communicating with each other. It's a nice thing to use this for. One of the things that I want to show you, this is new to Google, and those of you guys that are Google savvy, you will like this. It's called, when you're in presentation mode, it's called Q&A. So if I click it, what I can actually do is I can set up the presentation view, if you can see where I'm pointing. presentation view allows me to then go and do this Q&A. Thumbs up if you've heard of Q&A. Anyone in here? Q&A? So one or two people. So Q&A says, while I'm going through this presentation, my students can actually submit questions to me as a, so if you guys wanted to go to this, like you could type in, it's a shortened URL, goo.goal, right, /slides, and then /xf946. Let me zoom it in so you can see it. You want to jot it down on a piece of paper somewhere? What it does is it kind of changes the interface to where you're now in Google Slides looking at the circuitry lesson, but you'll have a toolbar off to the side that says, hey, I don't understand what you just said, or give me a minute, you're going too fast. But the students can ask questions to the teacher without having like the whole, raising their hand, especially for your quiet kids, or maybe someone that's just like, here's a question I want to ask you, you can answer it at recess or something, right? So it kind of changes this. We play around with it. If it's not very something that's, that we can use today, then that's fine, but I just kind of want to throw it out there. It's a nice little interface. When I look at this on my interface, I'm kind of using Mike to drive this presentation, but then I also have this one logged in under the same file, so I'm looking at the question Q&A on this side. And so I can see these. I don't think the dialogue is presented to everyone in front of the class. It's kind of like a sidebar for the teacher view. Okay. So it's just for the teacher, but then I can publish those questions to the class. Can anyone see this question? Someone asked me this question. Check this out. Someone asked, can anyone see this question? What is circuitry? Do you see these questions popping up here? So I can kind of go back and forth between my slide, and I can see these questions. So ask these questions. It shows anonymous. I'm certain there's a setting for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking about. That was me.
Yeah.
But so kids can see what other people are typing.
I put that up on the screen. So I actually toggled the presentation part of it.
Can you refresh it? But I can see the other.
You can see other questions?
on my
Okay,
screen.
so then that's what it'll be as. It's just an open overall platform. Okay, fair enough. All right, what I want to do is I actually want to start this today with a brief video on circuitry. We can watch it from here. It would be way too hard for everyone to watch the same video in 30 different laptops. So what we'll do is I'll play it on my screen. If you want to see you later, alligator, in a while, crocodile, let's go ahead and do that for me. And sometimes when you want to talk about circuitry, the best person to tell you about a scientific concept is Bill Nye himself, right?
The same thing that makes this happen makes this happen. So where does electricity come from, anyway? Well, in 1831, two scientists figured out how to make electricity.
So one of the things, video, right? It's a great way to kind of help bring this to your students as well. So that video is downloadable. I put it onto the class page. So it's on the stream. If you look under the help files, you'll see it says Bill Nye. If you click on that, you can share that with your own personal drive files. So the nice thing about the Google Classroom site is it creates a Google Drive unlimited space that you can use in class, and like these kind of PDs that are nice for. But then any of the files that I have, you're all welcome to take. So we're going to talk about the low-level entry. We want to say, how is it that I can introduce circuitry without having soldering irons and major batteries where they're shocking in the wall? We're not going to do any of that stuff. We'll start with a much lower version of that. Before I do that, though, I had a question come up on the Google Classroom Q&A, and the question was a simple one, and I'll just put it up on the screen really quickly. Oops, wrong computer. The question was, how do I make my own Q&A? Right? So that was the question. How do I make my own Q&A? And you don't have to make a Q&A. If you know how to make Google Slides, if you made your own Google Slides, it's built into this automatically. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, when you go to Presenter View and you click on Presenter View, it automatically loads the Q&A and it says, do you want to start this using this session, whatever. So you don't actually have to do any legwork. Google, the platform, has done all the hard work for you. All you do is create a Google Slides and then run it in presentation mode. Once you're in presentation mode, you just go down to the presenter view and then just toggle the Q&A on or off. I can turn it on or off, and that's it. That's all you do. It gives them this URL so that way they can switch tabs, ask a question, go back to the tab, and go on with the PowerPoint. So it's nice. And I would encourage you to employ it. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Google certified trainer. I'm not doing workshops or conferences in like big cities or anything. It's just something that I'm interested in and I want to learn more about it. So I try to integrate it into my day. So if you have ideas and things that you want to learn more about, ask me. If I don't know the answer, at least we can kind of learn about them together. I know it's important to teachers if you ask me that question. So let's go back into the slide now. How do I actually provide provide a platform to discuss circuitry with my students? I'm thinking at the lowest level, my 3rd and 4th grade students. How am I going to get them to think about this? And the very first thing that I would have done was something that you may have remembered when you were a kid, making the human circuit. Has anyone done this where you make a human circuit? I'm going to get some volunteers. I need like 4 people from this side of the room and 4 people from this side of the room. So let me just, I don't want to volunteer. Please just stand up and join me in the middle of the room and everyone else can just watch. I need some people to help me here. Yes, the brave ones. I love it. Lead the way. Thank you. Yes. All right, so this is more than enough. So if we can gather around in a circle, this is the kind of things that you would do with your students. Now, on the slides, yeah, we'll just hang out for a second. Let me just kind of give them background. On the slides, they show a picture. The teacher actually has like a piece of construction paper wrapped around his neck, and he's like the battery, or she, whoever the person is the battery, and it shows plus and minus. So if I'm the battery, I'm the facilitator of this, if we don't have a connected circle, we don't have a circuit. So right now, none of us are touching our hands together, so therefore there is no circuit. All right? This is what we would call an open circuit. Now, if I actually was to join hands with my partners, go ahead and join in a circle all the way around, we now have a circuit, agreed? And the way that I would go even a step further is I'm going to put our hand in the air. I would actually say I'm going to send a current by squeezing her hand. And the number of times that I squeeze, she has to follow along, and we'll just quickly just model this. So I squeeze twice. She's going to continue that idea. And I just felt my hand being squeezed twice over here. Thank you so much for your help. Give me a hand. Was that hard? Now, I did that with, let's just say that. I can see that happening in the 3rd grade classroom and making it into a fun game where you say, don't tell them, so we're quietly or I'm softly just squeezing this person's hand. And then the very last person over here has to tell us how many times my hand was squeezed or I squeezed their hand. So we're passing that signal. And that's a great visual for what it is that we're trying to do today. All of the work that's based on circuit boards uses that same simple principle of just passing energy through a circuit or a circle. Okay? So that's what we're going to start with. I want to actually kind of go in from here and show you the next step. So let's go through this a couple more slides. So I provided definitions. What is a circuit? The power supply is a must. You have to have power to go through this circuit. An open circuit is when there is a break. So these are the vocabulary words that I need my students to use. If I expect them to use them in their writing, or if I expect them to use them in their models or their presentations, then I need to provide an opportunity for them to learn this vocabulary. So here is a circuit. Nothing more than a power source going through, going to charge a light bulb, and then it's going through. Now you'll notice that there's a break in this circuit, which makes it an open circuit. There's a break in it, so it's opened. Now if the converse of that would be, oops, again, that's going to kill me, is the closed circuit. So if you take a look at this, you'll see that there's the two ideas put together. You'll notice that it shows the flow of electricity going through this in a circle. We have our closed circuit here, an open circuit. Now, I'll tell you that some people may bring issue with the way that the flow of electrons is going. At one point in history, we believed it flowed from positive to negative. Some big name people came up with that, established that rule, and it's kind of been the general consensus. We've kind of all just kind of gone with that. But as we learned more in science in the early 1900s, we realized it was actually the opposite direction. And so if that's a conversation you want to have with your older kids, that's fine. But the general understanding of flow of circuitry, and this is just a general understanding, it's going from positive to negative, and that's kind of what we've done in most of our diagrams and schematics. But if you learn more about electron flow, you'll realize that it's backwards, and record will show that it was adjusted. But we've kind of just kept it because that's where we've wired things and we've done things from the past. But the closed circuit, the open circuit are two words that we had to establish. We needed to make sure we knew. And then I kind of just talked about this whole process. I actually went and marked our hands with positives and negatives and made sure that when we grabbed hands that we were grabbing a positive to a negative. So just that one step, and that was something we did. I've modeled this in the picture. We did this as a group, so I'll skip past this. Now, what I wanted to do with you guys today is actually try and create some small circuits, some simple circuits with some of the materials you have at your desk. So what I want to do is actually try to get you to create a closed circuit with an LED light bulb. And what we'll do is I'm going to ask that you guys all should have these materials in front of you. You'll just have to kind of dig through what you had. Now, I went during the video and I went and put around all these little watch batteries. These are perfect for classrooms. They will not, there's 3 volts on these things. You can buy them. Don't try and go to the store and buy them like at Rite Aid or whatever. You'll spend too much, way too much for these. But I buy them on Amazon, well, through Amazon, and you can get like 20 of these for $4. So you can get enough for a whole year with $100. And these things do last. They have a lot of life on them. For what we'll do, they can last a very long time. I think I ran, just as a test, 2 LEDs lit with 1 watch battery, and it gave me more than 20 hours. So it was 20 to 24 hours of light. So they will last, and they're perfect for experimentation. You'll need one of these, and I put the proper number on each table. If I messed my count up, just go ahead and ask me. I'll give you another one. So please just go ahead and distribute. Each person on your table should have one of these. You'll need some of your magnetic wire. So if you find your magnetic wire in your supplies, grab that out. You also have a SICK kit, which is a SparkFun Inventors kit. And I'll give you a chance to kind of just unpack everything. I won't go too fast.
So the copper
Yeah, you won't need to open anything out of the box yet. Just clear the, break the seal on it. Take the battery out of the blister. Throw away some of your trash. And then here's an extra set of scissors ahead. All right. So without too much unpacking, you'll need your watch battery. So find that. Open it up. Your wire, your magnetic wire in the roll, take that out, set it off to the side, and then look inside of your SICK kit, look inside the Inventor's kit, which is that black box, and find an LED, just 1 LED light bulb. All right, for those of you guys that are not sure of the LED packet, it looks like this. It's in this like kind of anti-static packet. It's a small little one, and these are the LED bulbs that I would use. So find this packet. It's a little tiny thing inside of the Inventor's kit. Take an LED out of that. All right, so that magnetic wire is a spool wire. It's perfect. This is the same kind of wire that you might find if you've ever opened up a blender or any kind of machine that has like any kind of motor. They wrap that stuff up in there, and it's a really nice wire that you can use. We're going to use it because it's super cheap, and you can buy a bunch of it, and it'll last forever. So you can use 1 roll, and it'll last you several years probably, depending on your application of it. But what you'll notice is that it has a red coating on it. I bought the kind that had a red coating, so that way you can tell when you have to shave the coating. Now, wires themselves need to be conductive, and they shield them with this non-conductive coating, so that way things don't short out or whatever else. So what we have to do in order to make a circuit using this wiring is we have to scrape away with some sandpaper. So I have a bag of sandpaper in my hand that's just little strips, and this is just 1 or 2 sheets. I just cut them up. And what you'll do is you'll just kind of bend the sandpaper and grab the ends of the wire and just kind of rub it through. You'll see the change in color because you're stripping away that conductive or the non-conductive coating. Now, here's your task. You need to cut 2 wires, an LED light bulb, and a battery. You need to have those 2 wires cut. How long do those wires need to be? I'm going to say nothing more than 5 or 6 inches. I mean, it doesn't matter how long they are, but that's perfect. I guess that's enough space. So how many wires do you need to cut? 2 wires. You need to have an LED bulb, a watch battery, and those 2 wires. I'm going to pass around the sandpaper so you can start stripping away the conductive coating on the shield, or on the wires. So let me see. There's 10 of you guys here, I think. I have Mr. A and Dr. A passing around the sandpaper. All right, thank you for your attention. Really quickly, I've given you a task. I've asked you guys to strip away the conductive coating on the wires. This is usually what we do, and this is like one of those engineering practices. If you're familiar with the Next Gen Science Standards, they ask you to do these kind of things with your students. And so we typically have, what we've done is we've kind of gone through the idea of what a circuit is. We've modeled it for our students, and now we're actually giving them an opportunity to create one of them, a circuit on their own. So now try to envision what this circuit might look like for you. An LED is going to have 2 legs. There's 2 legs on the LED. I'm not going to tell you which side's positive and negative. You'll kind of discover that first. But then 1 wire going, connecting to one side of the battery, the other wire going, connecting to the other leg. So you're going to make a circle, which will make a circuit. And it's instant, understanding. If you made your light bulb light up, then you understand what a circuit is. And if it didn't, then you're going to have more opportunities to kind of correct and make that happen. So I'll give you guys some independent time. Strip away the wiring, the coating on the wires. Try and make a circuit. Show me that you have a circuit.
Do I have to use tape or can I use my finger?
I'll probably help kind of set things up for you.
Thank you. I had 2 wires out here.
When I do this kind of stuff, it's nice because I can walk around and I can monitor my students' progress just by simply looking and seeing who's got theirs lit and not. But an extension to this with Google Classroom integration would be, the next thing is that check for understanding. If you go back to the main classroom page, there is on the first page of the stream, there is a circuitry check for understanding. And what I did was, I provided a slide on there that you guys can download, and you can actually take a picture of your circuit, put it on the page, and then you can turn it in as an assignment. So anyone that has got their circuit lit, if you have a cell phone with you or if you have your iPad and you want to do that, you can even use the front of your Chromebook if you can access the picture. But let me show you that for my extension. If you're done with the circuit, we're kind of waiting for others to catch up. So looking at the screen, here's the circuit slide that we were working on, and then there's this what's called a check for understanding. If I click on that check for understanding, then here's what it says. Each group will create one slide that demonstrates their understanding of a circuit. So you'll have to take a picture of this circuit working, lit, and paste it to a slide. So take a look at my example. I put it all on a page here. So I'm kind of giving you a little bit of information ahead in case you're ready for that. You can actually go to this check for understanding and start building this check for understanding. But let's just kind of go back and let everyone else finish making their circuit. So you can't use one wire for 2 pieces because that causes a short. Okay.
Oh, I see.
That's okay.
So we need 2.
Yes, you need 2
and then
pieces.
connect
Exactly. Which one of those 2?
light.
Very nice. You got it? Were you able to power 2 LEDs? That's the next question. Are you able to power 2 LEDs? So I'm going to put a couple of challenges out there for you if you choose to do this one or if you want to move on to the next one. The idea here is that we're getting some practice with circuitry. So were you able to try 2 LEDs? This is what my 4th graders did past summer. So they were given a battery and some wires, and they were doing it. So there's the standard for you. But also, take a look at this. We're going to be playing with some Play-Doh today. And in order for us to play with Play-Doh, we kind of have to establish a couple of these principles. Can I plug in a piece of Play-Doh and make this circuit? So look at how many wires I'm actually using. If you're not looking at the screen, you'll want to do this now. I have my LED light bulb, 1 wire, Play-Doh, a wire, a separate wire. This isn't just like going through it. It's a separate new wire. And then the battery, another wire. So how many wires am I using for this? 3. I have 3 cut wires, shielded removed, so the shielding's removed at the ends of all 3 wires. So if you want to try this, or if you want to try and light 2 LED light bulbs with your watch battery, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do those 2 challenges. This is really what I need to see everyone doing at the end, though. So if you're ahead of the game, see what you can do for me.
You are the best.
It's all marinated. I don't think this is cooked right with me.
Now, do you think it might be the wires? So I have everyone's attention up here in front. Let me just kind of ask you guys to just look up here for a second, and I'll get some feedback from everybody. So that's where I want to go. I don't want to move too fast. If you're still enjoying this, if you're having issues with it. But you know, one of those things that we talk about with our students, that big word, perseverance. That's a big word, right? And it's a much bigger concept to teach to our students. But if we don't ever give them situations to persevere, then they're never going to learn it. Just by putting the vocabulary on the wall doesn't mean that they're going to, internalize that. So giving them opportunities like this, and then, well, what did you try? What didn't work? Now go back and refine those models. And you guys all are going through that situation. And so it's important for you to experience that frustration as well. So that way you kind of know where they're coming from as new. So if you're having to scrub your wires again, or when I come by and you're like, oh, and then it clicks, that's great. Those are all the experiences we want you to have. But here's what I'm going to ask from you guys. Were you able to get your first challenge to work? The LED and the watch battery. That's it, the 2 wires LED watch battery. Thumbs up, yes, I got it to work. So let me just get some feedback from both sides of the room. So if you can just take a second, show me. All right, so it looks to me like most of us are on that point. Some of us are still kind of making things happen. Now, second part. What about the Play-Doh? This is the important thing that we need to establish. Were you able to make the LED light up, even if it was very dim? Were you able to make the LED light up with a piece of Play-Doh in the circuit? Thumbs up or thumbs down, it's not working. I haven't tried it yet. So thumbs up, it worked. Thumbs down. Okay, so it looks like more people are having issues with it on this side of the room. Most of us over here. There's no reason why you guys have to be in two islands by yourselves. If you want to see some working examples, please share with each other. But what I'm going to ask from everyone else, take a picture of this, upload it onto this Google document. If you know how to do that with your Chromebook, email it to yourself and then copy paste it. Because what I'm hoping is that you guys can turn in an assignment. I want to model that, what it would look like. So I'm going to go to my screen over here really quickly and show you what I would expect from my students. This is a powerful point of like giving feedback to my class. On my check for understanding, so if I go back into the Google Stream, this is the Stream page where it's just got all the assignments. I'm going to go into my CFU, my check for understanding. If I click on that, oh, let me back up. I should have mentioned this one thing that's really kind of nice about it. On the check for understanding, when you create these assignments, what you actually are doing is you put certain requirements on them. Let me show you by doing the edit teacher version. Look up at the screen. This is kind of like a new teacher Google training component. When I create an assignment, there's different requirements. I can say like students can view this file. I don't want them messing with my teacher file, so they can view it only. But then there's this Google circuit, this check for understanding. If you look off to the side, it says students can edit this file. And the reason why is I want you guys to add a page to this file for me. So at the end of this work, this piece, you should all be able to then, I should be able to click on this and see every single one of our pages added onto this file. So let me show you what that looks like. When you guys are on your check for understanding, if you've loaded it, here's what you'll do right now. You'll create a new slide in this document. So once it's been loaded, go below number 4. Go below number 4 and just hit enter. And now just add your name and then fill in the information that I'm asking for. Watch right here. If you go back to 4, here's some of the criteria. Tell me what is an open circuit, what is a closed. These are things that I would have my kids do. You don't necessarily have to fill in those sentences. But what I would like from you guys is maybe a picture of one of these things working. Were you able to get your light bulb to light? If you want to add video, you can't really add a personal video, but you can add a link to a video in your drive. And I can click that link and I can watch the video, but it's not like you guys are putting it up on YouTube. So how would you kind of show video with your own kids? You would just have them store the video on a drive and do that. So this is another example of what you can do. So I already see that Charisse has a file already created, but other people can go and create files. And then all we want to do right now is just take a picture. And if you're just watching someone next to you do it, that's fine. But just kind of get exposure for this. This is how we do some formative assessment in the digital age with Google Classroom. This is one great example of formative assessment. I can quickly look at this file and see exactly where they're at working. If they've made a circuit work, then I send her a message, great job, or have you checked your connection if it's not lighting? Stuff like that I can talk to them about. So everybody here can go ahead and create a slide or pair up with people. Try and get let's populate this page with some examples of what your work looks like. Okay, so this is the check for understanding. Do you see on the top? So check for understanding circuitry. And you just go in, make a slide, because this is a document that all of us are going to collaborate on.
Okay, Casa, now you can come.
What about powering a motor with a watch battery? You actually have in your SICK kit, your inventor's kit, a motor. If you dig in your black box, find the little DC motor that's in there, pull it out. Try and see if you can power that motor up with a watch battery. Make a circuit with that motor.
You hold this one, and I'll hold this one, and you can have.
I have a challenge for you, and I need you to hear this. So the battery plugged into a DC motor causes it to turn on. Hopefully, if you make a circuit, it'll turn on. But what I'm hoping you can do is like put a piece of tape on the actual the drive that sticks out of the motor, so that way you can actually see the direction it's going. All right. So if you get a small piece of tape or something that you can stick on there, or even some Play-Doh, a small ball of Play-Doh, what you want to be able to see is that motor drive spinning. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to then reverse the battery on the DC motor and just see what happens, investigate that. So your challenge is to plug it in, create a circuit with your motor, but then alternate the wiring on the battery side. But if you don't have a piece of tape or some Play-Doh, you won't be able to see that little metal shaft turning.
All right. To the right. Is that right?
Oh,
Cool. It's moving this way. Look. Yep, I feel it. Look, there you go.
Check it out. So this person has a piece of Play-Doh, 2 LEDs, and 2 watch batteries. What they figured out was they needed to put more power into it. And one of the things that we haven't really talked about was this idea of resistance. And anytime that you add an additional component to this circuit, you're adding more resistance.
I like the black background because
You can actually see it, right? Very cool. Very cool. And so you can actually see, I mean, we've had this happening in our summer camps. We have kids, 4th graders, taking pictures with Chromebooks, submitting assignments, writing about what they've been doing. Not only just telling me what, showing me here, but then providing any kind of write-up. And you saw the prompts that we had. There was a lot of journal prompts that we were asking because we think that that's important, the language element. So we were doing this with them in camp. I think this is a great place to go.